Saying good morning to our viewing and listening audience. Good morning and welcome to another edition of To The Point for today, Monday, the 12th day of June, 2023. Good morning. I'm your host, GT, and along with my guest, and maybe I should actually refer to him as my co-host. I should refer to him as a co-host. Good morning to you, Mr. McIntyre. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, GT. I am absolutely fine. Pumped up as usual, excited for Mondays.
All right, man. Good. So once again, let me say good morning to our social media audience, also those of you via our Facebook page or YouTube channels. Good morning and welcome to another edition of To The Point here on Classic Radio and HBN TV. As usual, when me and Mr. McIntyre is here on Monday, we talk about awareness, how to manage the awareness, hazards and stuff like that, and just give you information that can make a whole lot of difference for you and your family, just in case you get into a situation or you know of a particular disaster so that that has occurred, or you can't know when it's going to occur anyway, but that a disaster that may occur, and in terms of how you would manage it, you may be in a situation where an accident occur, and sometimes the information that we share with you here, it could help you save the life of another, or even save your own life. All right? So Mr. McIntyre, welcome back once again. Hope you had a great weekend, sir. Hope you had a great weekend.
I did have a good one. How was yours?
Pretty good. It was kind of hectic, but with the work that I do, it was all good.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just love what you do, right?
Of course.
I do a lot of work in the mountain areas, so I was in Granite Tank for almost for the entire weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the entire weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and there were some problems that some of the folks who I work for was having some problems, so I was able to be up there. And you're up there by yourself.
Right.
You're like in your own little world, in your own little world, and do what I do, and it was really good. It was really good. Little showers now and then, but I'm indoors, so it wasn't really causing me much hindrance.
Absolutely.
But it was really good. Being there, and like all you're listening into is nature. Understand?
Yes.
That was good.
So my weekend was similar in that, but I do have some farmlands in the interior of Grenada. Some people call it the breadbasket, Central, Butch Grove, St. Andrew area. So,
okay.
And I spent some time up there. I went up, enjoyed nature.
All right.
The river was there, the chirping of the birds and so forth. Look at the irritating mongoose as they pass by and see what you can learn from them. And there's some interesting parts in the area as well. And coming to the twilight, they would give you some wonderful songs, etc. So nature, really engaging. And
there's a saying that, we live where others come to vacate, right? Come on and have a vacation. You understand? Come and vacate here, but that's where we live, so we know it. So now we don't really recognize the beautiful place that we have as Grenada,
Yeah. And I actually, as well, an expansion of nature, went to, there's a little spring river type thing. And not that I'm cheating Lawasa, but there are times I pull a little of the spring water directly from the mountain.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so I do that and so forth. But as we examined the weekend in review technically, we saw, I think Thursday was planting day.
Planting day was, Corpus Christi.
Corpus Christi.
Corpus Christi. It's something that I have never put a lot of energy into.
What, Corpus Christi or planting?
The planting.
Right.
Well, the day in for instance, something about it. Well, I never had the lands to work on.
Do you have any plot of land at all that you can?
I do. I have.
Do you have a backyard garden?
Wifey takes care of that. But
okay.
but something I have just never really put the energy into. From young to the age I've gotten to now, I just never put the energy into it. There's some things that people like doing.
Teach his own.
It's just something I've never put the energy into.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong in that. And so I have no problem in getting my nails dirty and getting
I don't think I have a problem, but I just never really got into doing it. You understand?
Right. And there's no problem in that either. And so if you are religious oriented as well, the scripture speaks of planting by moon and for seasons and stuff. So I believe in moon.
Okay.
And so I didn't think that Corpus Christi moon was the better moon for planting.
This time around.
Right. I like planting. Most people plant like the 3 days before and after full moon.
Okay.
Like the crops. If you want to, groom them, you do them like 3 days before for the things above ground. You seem to get better yield with that. And for those underground, and if you have to do grass as well, it's better to cut it when the moon is on the downside after full moon. About 3 days after full moon, and you want to do some trimming as well and keep things low, that's also a good time. And for planting stuff like the root tubers like potatoes and tanias and the thing and that bear underground, they give you better yield. And there are other times.
Thanks for the advice. If I do try to plant one of these days, I'll yield the advice.
And the other thing too, when you're doing like coconut oil,
yeah,
I know some of the farmers are probably get a little hook on with Ministry of Agriculture, because when you're doing coconut, the coconut has a lot of things that they call the mashi, that's the husk. When you boil it, closer to the larger part of the moon, you get a lot of husk and little oil.
Okay.
But when you come into the first quarter of the moon, and when the moon is up, you get less hushy and more oil.
Well,
My goodness.
interesting.
That's interesting. Good. What does all that have to do
what has to do with risk management? But Sylvan.
It does, because when we look at that, you realize that later on, after today's program, we'll also be speaking about risk and food security.
Okay.
What kinds of things.
So they actually wouldn't have that mesh that comes in with each other.
They do have that link, because coming into the hurricane season, you might be advised as a peak hurricane season, you look at having crops that are shorter in particular areas. If you're in higher lands, you try to plant things that are lower, like the root stuff and so on. If you have heavier rains and winds, you do not get a lot of this summer Sunday. And if you're living in lower land, things like bananas and other things, even if you are threatened with a hurricane per se, we're going to speak about that. There are some people, if you definitely are in the warning period, they will cut some of those bananas halfway and so forth, so that they don't topple over, and so that when the system is gone, then they can shoot right up and you can get yields again. So these are some things in terms of risk management, and the whole aspect of land terracing and so on, contour drains and all of these. We've seen some of these practices that people really don't practice well, and that can impact on food security. So we can expand on that. Maybe I may invite somebody from agriculture to help us on that. But when we do risk management, we look at risk management in all sense of the word. And as you said on our previous program, that we are taking risk management into another dimension. In other words, the way people saw things. We speak up about road traffic accidents, and people thought that risk on the road and traffic is always about speeding, and now we're showing you how things can impact on that.
Okay, so, there are different things that can contribute to it. You understand, in terms of the risk management, and in terms of road, in the road you're driving, not always somebody's going to run into you.
Absolutely.
You understand? You know, there are other factors that, you know, could lead to accidents occurring because the authority didn't look into that, or maybe you as an individual didn't pay attention to that. Could cause you to have these kind of problems on the road.
And through this new campaign that we have through the McIntyre Road Safety Foundation, as I said, we are going to be advocating and raising the issues out there. But before we actually go into the meat of today's program, there are some people I'd like to use this opportunity to shout out. We know we have a viewership outside there.
Yes.
We have some followers, and we have some people who look forward and meet us all the time. And I understand we had some very useful feedback from last week's program.
So we want to
really compliment and commend the followers and viewers, and they give interesting comments and so on. We want to encourage that. So I want to say hi to you. I want to also say compliments to the folks on the Springs Road. There was one time we mentioned closer to the Small Axe Bar. There were some vehicles that always used to be on that road.
That they've been removed.
Well, whether they removed themselves or the police told them to remove, the road has been cleared. The traffic flows really nicely on morning.
You know, sometimes you don't pay attention. I traversed that road lately, but somehow I didn't pay attention to the vehicles being removed.
I do that road pretty often because I use that as I live in Grandlands area.
I didn't pay attention.
So I use that back road to get away from the main Grandlands thoroughfare when I'm heading home. So I pass that road pretty often. So I want to commend the people for doing that. I think people are beginning to understand more as to how they can contribute towards road safety, and it's not just drivers, but it's how you park, how you treat others and all of that. And people listen to instructions, so they listen to the airwaves, and again, we have followers and listeners. They understand that we say that they are an impediment to free flow of traffic.
Yes.
They listen to the program and they've done it. So we want to comment.
So those who've been heeding the little advice that we've been throwing out, we want to thank you for heeding the advice, who've been passing it on to friends and family, and just talking to individuals at all and telling them, hey, you're doing this, you're doing that, and it can make a whole lot of difference if you don't.
Absolutely.
You understand?
And one of my really ardent support and followers is my 16-year-old daughter, Suraj. I want to just, give her hats off and commend her because she lost her mom just on Whit Monday. Okay. And she's doing CXC, and she's been going through and holding strong. So I want to use this opportunity on the airwaves to tell her that her dad is there, loves her, and keep doing what she's doing as a strong child.
All right.
And there are other persons who might have lost loved ones and all of that and so forth. I want to tell you that, take strength in the atmosphere. strength in the things around you and be positive all the time. Just look forward to brighter days and greater things rather than sulking over it. And there's a grieving process. I heard Innocent speaking about that. It's a process. People have to understand it, and let us just take strength from each other and things that we look positively towards.
All right, I agree. Quick review of last week's program.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't go on without doing that.
On my way this morning, I hope Master Control could quickly, if you do have those clips from last week, we spoke about that vehicle that burnt, almost going on 3 to 4 weeks now. Almost a month.
Yes.
Still is on the Cemetery Hill area.
Right.
I have noticed that now that sticker that we saw last week has been removed. So I'm not know if the owner removed or some
or when the Ministry of Health retracted. I don't think they did.
But I think that's another for last week. That still hasn't been removed.
Right.
I traversed the ministerial complex, that road at least.
The Lotus Lane?
Lotus Lane.
Right.
I am noticing the sign is still there. They still hasn't cut the
bush around it.
That sign that the bush hasn't been cut, and I'm still going up to the opposite that bakery, going up Lotus Lane also opposite there.
Where the old Budani place was.
Old Budani was. I'm still seeing there's some work going on there, and I still think much safety precaution wasn't taken in terms of the work that's been done in terms of the slippage that is happening there. But it's not actually a slippage, I would say. There's some excavation that is actually taking place.
Construction.
But I think it should have been managed better than how it has been done. You understand? Right. I think that could be done. And there's some still other little thing. The sign. What about this? Have you noticed the sign in
the pedestrian crossing sign that faces Tam CC?
Still have nothing been done.
There's no move on that. And there's another one closer to the Anglican High School. I think that was taken down maybe by a vehicle or something. It was lying against the fence in the bush. Says pedestrian crossing as well. Nobody saw the need to pick that up. Now, as you mentioned, some of the things we raised on previous programs. Remember us speaking about that huge boulder in the Claxcoat Bay Woodlands area and the risk that is apparent to people.
Yes.
And there's somebody building a house right under there. And we spoke about the signs, and we spoke about zebra and pedestrian crossings and how people treat it.
Yeah.
And we spoke about the vehicle and symmetry and a number of other signs. Well, we're going to expand on some things today. But what it is raising here is that there are a couple of things. I'm not too sure that we are, through this medium, attracting are we preaching to the converted or the right hearers? And whether or not we have to expand this program into other atmospheres and other spheres that we can have more followers or viewers and so on for it. So it is almost apparent that the people who should action certain things, they are not listening. Or maybe we are so laissez-faire about most things that it doesn't even bother us whether or not these signs are really erected properly or whether they are maintained. But my suggestion would be, and there are a couple of things, the GBN can either, because GBN really hosts useful programs that have information, education, and things that need to follow up. But you may want to ask, is there somebody within the GBM who stays on the stories, identify the issues, and have a contact person maybe in ministries or other places as the issues are addressed, and you can forward it to them.
Okay.
On the other end, whether or not the state mechanism has that way of connecting to the issues, and do they have or identify someone that when these issues arise on programs, that these persons can take it, they can go back to ministries, they can go back to government, go back to the police and different departments, so that these things could be actioned. I am thinking that we need to move in that direction to make best use of time. So if our state mechanism could say, you know what is raised on the airwave, it is useful. Because when I was directly within the police force and within the PR department, what I have done was listen to the comments from people on programs, listen to people on the street, and we would go back on the inside, speak with the executive of the police force, and we would discuss and address the issue, because the people are the ones who will identify the issues more than anything else. The people on the ground and the communities, they would see it, but when they sit and they speak about it, how is it actioned? So are we just coming here on programs, look nice, sound good, and that's it? Because it is very apparent.
Are you thinking that maybe the folks in authority who may have viewed the programs that we are doing, are they not seeing it as anything of a serious concern?
Well, it may look that way as well if there's no action taken to it. Because I don't think a lot of people could be very wrong, because the feedback that we had or we having from the program, they're saying that those are useful issues that we are raising. And I don't think these people are foolish at all. So it is saying that maybe I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that there isn't somebody really following that can action it. And let us also reverse it to us here at the GBN. Do we take the issues and do we direct it to somewhere and say, listen, on this program, to the point on Monday, these are the issues that are coming up. Who can we address it to? Or we want to bring it forward to you. Could somebody look at it? Did we speak or send it to the police and say, listen, officers, or to the senior, or to the community relation department? These things have been raised on our program during the course of the week. Can you look into it?
But so, would you believe that sometimes folks in authority are seeing these things themselves? The way we and you will drive around and take notice of the different things that are around the area that we view, could be hazardous to drivers and a way of concern for drivers on the road. We are seeing it.
Yes.
But why are they not paying attention and doing anything about it?
I don't really know, I don't think I could really find the answer. Oh, but having said so, GT, I remember almost a year ago we were sitting in the studio and there were, I think, about 3 of us that morning just before election, and we were having the discussion.
Myself and Ken Roy, I think.
That's right, where things were trending. So we want to use this opportunity this morning to commend the new ruling administration of the National Democratic Congress. We want to commend them on 1 year in office for the work they've been doing so far in transforming Grenada.
I guess in a matter of days, that's what they would have that 1 year. So
and building new agendas for Grenada. We really commend them on the initiative that we are seeing, and we're hoping and praying that God will give them the strength and the guidance. I hope that they would listen and engage more with people so that the issues of people could be heard and heard and they could be implemented.
Yes. And sometimes you see a lot of individuals speaking, especially on social media and so forth, and you're wondering if their concerns are really been met, or even been heard by the right individuals. Yes. You understand? Because sometimes you see individuals responding, but whoever responds to their concern, are they able to do anything about it?
Yes.
You understand? Because most times these individuals may not be in authority. They may not have the sort of say, you understand, to get these things done.
So what I would like to, before we take a break, what I would like to suggest, and hopefully it could be taken in this serious note. I remember during the revolutionary period, there is what you called the propaganda and the anti-propaganda mechanism machinery that looked at the issues and listened to the issues of the massive. And I think as a new administration wanting to really build some prominence, I think they can identify individuals or a mechanism that listen to the stories, follow the Facebook pages, and follow the information, unofficial, unestablished medium of information, access it and put it in a place where there can be action. So you create an avenue for that. Even within the GIS or within some department, they identify a unit that will follow through, listen. And even if they're doing that, we're not getting that feed. So we would hope that is something that could be done, and then give the people the feedback. This builds confidence in our administration. It says, good, that you are listening and you do take people's interests and concerns at heart.
Yes, good. The voice of the citizens is important.
Absolutely, and that's a free advice.
All right. Let's take a break. We come back. We have some interest, another set of course, videos and so forth that we're going to be showing this morning that should grab the attention of our viewers and listeners and even those in authority. We're coming right back, folks. Stay with us here on To The Point.
More chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding Multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding Multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the Multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more, or free plays. With Multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more with Multi-X added to Playway, and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
On Saturday, July 29, Montrouge Plainfield will be transformed into a sea of grills as food, fun, and friends collide. It's the 10th annual Maggie King of the Grill competition. The best chef and barbecue kings and queens compete for cash, a new grill, and the title of Maggie King of the Grill. Come savor the flavors. Try to bust the ice cold bar and let the kids have their way in the bouncing castles, pony rides, slides, and games. Try your hand at dominoes or the beer and leg competition and win instant cash. Come 7 p.m. you go stateside to enjoy performances from top local acts. It's a whole evening of fun at the Maggie King of the Grill, Saturday, July 29 at the Montrouge Plainfield. Gates open from 12 noon. $10 gets you on the inside. Powered by Maggie, Hot 98, and GBN Television.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. It's To The Point for today, Monday, the 12th day of June. I have Mr. Sylvan McIntyre with me this morning, as usual. We're talking about awareness, and we're focusing a lot this morning on, the risk awareness. And, our emphasis this morning, we want to talk about, slope stabilization and, rock fall, retaining and reinforcement and so forth of walls. And as citizens, we drive around and we see those hazards that's just waiting there to happen, something that could happen. And sometimes we probably think, well, it's all right until when something actually happens. No, then we say, hey, something could have been done about that.
Yes.
You understand? We do have some material that we're going to be showing this morning, and we're going to chit-chat about it as we move along this morning. I'm seeing someone is calling, but we will able to call us. We're going to entertain you a little bit later during the course of the program, maybe in the next half an hour. We're going to entertain your calls, so we're not going to entertain calls in this segment. So, Sylvan, let me move from here.
Yes.
Well, we want to talk about, today's program is slope stabilization. You driving around, as I mentioned, as citizens, we drive around and we see these things, the various hazards that are out there, and we wonder, are the authority paying attention to them?
I hope that they would.
Mm-hmm.
But there isn't a lot of evidence that convinces the average citizen that is the case.
Mm-hmm.
I want to commend the initiative of the bypass road through Monkuma.
Mm-hmm.
That's the road that created for heavy-duty vehicles heading to the Perseverance dump site, especially, since the Molyneux situation, we had that. Now, what we're speaking about is slope stabilization, and we wish that sometimes when construction and work are being undertaken, that there's some deep consideration taken. That's a beautiful piece of road.
Yes.
And you can see the interior of Grenada, the greenery, and think how lovely that area is. But my disappointment with that area there is that the slope seems to be inappropriately or incorrectly terraced.
Mm-hmm.
And what you find is that there is a straight down cut of that slope. Whereas it
should have slanted a little bit more.
There should be an angle on that slope. In addition to that, because it is the soil type is loose rock to an extent, and it can erode, it can shell away and fall. When that photo was taken of the area, I heard one resident in the area said, "Mr. Mac, you know that this thing here is a real hazard." That's an average citizen.
Mm-hmm.
The rock comes down every time, ever so often. In mitigation and risk reduction initiative, what should happen in a case like this? The soil type, first, there should be a geological study, geophysical study of the soil type and to the best strategies to be implemented in that. One, there would be mitigation issues that you could employ. That rock you would cut it in what you call terrace. You do like step grades.
Okay.
You have a platform at the bottom. You have a lesser step up on it, and it goes up all the way. So as you get to the top, it narrows to the top. So if you have release of topsoil or rocks coming, it drops onto the first layer.
Okay.
If it builds onto that layer, it falls over onto the other. And so it cascades, it comes down onto the other, and so the impact is lessened. The velocity of it coming through is also lessened, and the risk for motorists and people traversing the area, it is reduced tremendously. That's one of the things that could be done. In addition to that, if you do the terracing, you can do gabion baskets at the bottom if there is moisture to support the base of that structure. And you can further do netting. We will show that later on going up to the Concord Grand Rye area, where that aspect was implemented, where you had rock stabled and boulders pinned and so forth.
Even in just after you pass the just the Lacquer crematorium there, there's that area there where that fencing has been done a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. So that area there, and I recall many years ago when I was in the disaster management agency, I remember doing a study with some engineers from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Military came through, and we identified those sites. And that site on Melville Street, there was one of those places that was identified.
Yes.
And again, the study was undertaken prior. They went back, looked at it, and came back with the mitigation issue of putting those netting alongside it.
Even by the Sandal Tunnel, also remember
the Sandal Tunnel. That's one of it. Now, this photo shows here an attempt to have done a terracing, which was the idea. I don't know. Yes. No, this other one here shows the retaining wires, and that's somewhere up the Concord Cotomele side, where the wires were used to retain. You can see them there as the video is pulled closer. That aspect there, it holds together. But if you realize some aspect of it, the lower areas was eroded, or has been eroded over the years. And if we do have the eyes of vigilance, what we've had as contribution to people over the years, we should expand on it. So if we had a study that was undertaken, and the U.S. provided some level of support to help us in that sense, we need to take it further and realize that the initiative that were implemented earlier on, it may not last forever. And therefore, we need to go back and expand on that, because you can see in some cases that the wire, they are exposed and some boulders are rolling through.
I could remember correctly, that was done at the time when they had that rock which came down and damaged that bus and caused the death of a couple of individuals.
In 1991, thereabout.
There. And I think that's when that project actually was initiated.
That was long after, actually.
Long after?
It was, it was a few years after that, because, as I said, I was part of the study that went through to do the study of it. But it was a couple of years after. It wasn't immediately, because when that rock came down, and again, things that we need to be on the ball with. It may not be on the roadside, it may not be very obvious, but there might be the surrounding. I remember people saying to us when we went up there, the number of boulders that were higher up into the hills that were precariously perched to come down, we were very concerned. And so it was not very obvious, because it was covered by overgrowth. And so the canopy and everything here that created itself kind of marred the area. So you could not have actually seen those rocks. I understand that boulder that came down there and caused, I think about 11 persons were crushed in that bus. It came through and was moving through for a while. So it wasn't released immediately and went down. It moved slowly until it got there. So it is saying that we have to be vigilant. We have to take initiatives to go through. And if modern day constructions and designs are being undertaken, we must expose ourselves to modern day technology and study that will help us to implement the best mitigation issues and the best preventative measures, where we'll have less damage, limited loss of life, if any at all. And road safety is not just about vehicles, and it is not just about the now, but we are creating the environment for the future.
All right. And we do have lots to show this morning in terms of the risk management and the awareness that individuals could look out for, and those in authority could also pay attention, because they are important for everyday life. Because for individuals traversing may not only be folks driving a vehicle, but it could be walking. And and it shows to the video that we had last, where a rock squirrel could slip through the bottom of that wire there. You understand?
Yes.
Could be someone could be walking, or if someone driving and the rocks coming through. So we need some kind of work to be done to solve that problem.
And as I mentioned, the construction issue and the soil type on that land, the entire West Coast, through vulnerability studies in Grenada, has shown that that's the most vulnerable site to natural phenomena. That's the West Coast. And from the north all the way down to the south, I think it's all the way down to Lagan Road, that whole coastline is built on deposits from volcanic material. So the geologists have done some studies. There's still some studies that could be undertaken in that, but that soil type, that build on that area, a lot of it, hundreds of thousands of years ago, you can see the impact of volcanic activities along that side. In some cases, you may have more iron-type strong boulders resting on each other, and in some cases you may have the build-up of other types of sediments, ash and other things that may build a pyroclastic flow and all of that would build it, and so there would be instability in a lot of these ends. In other cases, you have something called liquefaction that relates to the amount of water and moisture that interact with the soil, maybe from underlying stream sources, water tables, and you may have also that from upstream residential areas where people let water down in particular areas, and so as it soaks through, it creates the process of liquefaction where the soil can move through interference and so forth. And we saw that happening to a large extent on the Molyneux area, where we had that huge pull away of soil that led to creation of bypass. As we look at this other structure, we're speaking about construction that is somewhere between the Florida Closure area. That again is a retainer. And we did say we're going to speak about retaining walls and construction and so forth and how it is undertaken. Now, as you look at this site, you can see that the wall itself looks pretty slim. You look at it. It seems to be about 6, no more than 8 inches wide.
Is that appropriate?
I don't want to comment on that. I'm not the engineer that would speak on that. It's kind of a,
because I'm looking at a very slim wall.
Right. What you are not seeing there is the base. When you're doing a construction of that nature, the base has to be well fixed. So what you see at the top is not what the base will reflect. So you have to have a really firm base. And there is a firm base that I saw of a few feet of concrete that build base. But my concern would be, as the wall rises higher, did they take into consideration building from the base from very wide to less wide to narrow as you get to the top?
It's of a slope there. It's a slope in a slope.
You come slope terrace type, step type as well, so that you get the structure a bit more sturdy and it becomes more resilient to land slippage. As you build, in addition to that, there is something called weeper holes, and exactly what they say, and Master Control will show that again, where when you're building retainers, walls to support areas of land slippage or to support other form of construction areas, you want to have, particularly where water is prevalent, the more water, the more weeper holes you're going to require. So weeper holes are actually the holes that you put within the concrete structure that will have moisture come through, rather than settling behind the wall. In this case, there are some weeper holes that were built up built in the structure. They were the larger ones with the 4-inch PVC pipe at the bottom. But as you come further up, my concern about that, they are seemingly half-inch type conduits or PVC as weeper holes.
Would that be adequate for enough flow of water?
That's my concern. You look at the wall and you look at the rebars or the reinforcement bars, the size of the steel as well. I am not giving an expert explanation. I'm giving a layman's observation. The average citizen may look at it and may have their concern. When we raise these issues, it will require the experts to come in and justify what has gone in and to convince us that what they're doing is best.
Is adequate and it's right. And
because we would have the concern.
There were proper engineering ideas went into the construction. So what we may notice in reality may not be
true.
You understand?
What we do have, and we need more eyes when constructions and contracts are given to people to undertake particular works. And we think that there is a limitation in that aspect. You've seen a lot of works undertaken. And when you look at how it is undertaken, you ask yourself whether or not they have been supervised. You look at some of the drains. I look at one of the areas. There's a guy on the Grandlands Road where there was this old medical center. There's a guy called Dexter doing a restaurant up there. There's not an advertisement for him anyway. But there was some recent work that was done in that area. And so vehicles coming from the St. George, as you pass the Remax area and you need to enter there, they have built some concrete, a little concrete barrier to prevent, to support the drain. But as you veer into swing up there, it rises to a certain point that the average vehicle swinging there would bump and go down into that drain. So what is indicating here, and I've seen that quite a number of places, that when people are creating gaps, there isn't sufficient skirting so that vehicles maneuvering from off the main into the feeder section, they have enough space where they do not bump into a drain, fall off and damage a vehicle, or even create some damage to pedestrians. Okay. These are some things that we really need to look at. This is a recent undertaking, and I'm disappointed that was not taken into consideration, that they needed to expand on the skirting.
Doesn't physical planning come into play into of course, construction of that nature?
These are some of the things, but in my estimation, they are something that the physical planning will look at. I know they do have the knowledge that these things happen, but when community people raise those concerns, I think their eyes will be open a bit more as to how it could be addressed. Because I've seen it undertaken in many, many places where proper construction work, resurfacing of roads have been done, but when it comes to the access and regress to some places, the skirtings, they are not created wide enough. And so vehicles sometimes end up dropping in these places. Pedestrians who are walking actually have to squeeze themselves into banks and other places so that they can move through safely. Right. We would wish that practice is changed. And as we go back on the weeper holes, in terms of ensuring that supporting walls are well built and they are sturdy, the weeper holes must be bigger in most of these so that water can come through sufficiently. So that there isn't a build-up with soil and water, creating additional weight and force on that structure. In addition to that, the walls must not always come straight up. They should be best built with a slight angle so that it creates more support and strength for things.
Handle the pressure of the water.
The pressure of the water and the pressure of the soil that comes against it.
All right. So we do have some calls. A caller on the line that, of course, has been holding for a wee bit. And, we can always have the callers, hanging because they may have some interesting contribution to make. Okay. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning to you two gentlemen. How's everybody?
We're good.
Okay, well, I want to make some little contribution. I mean, not able to make all, but one I want to address is like that basket, wire basket that they made by the Lockwood there. From my observation, that is like a strainer. So right now it's time to empty that strainer because you can see the weight of the things that it's holding back is start bringing the pole, leaning the pole. So maybe they should choose a Sunday or a Saturday, lift the bottom of that thing and let all these boulders come through and then fit it back. Just the wire. Secondly, I think, as Mr. McIntyre is saying, the government should sit down with all these big heavy equipment construction companies and have a serious talk with them about where they're going and work and because they are the first people going in to do these work, and they must be educated and know what have to be done and what should be done. Then I have one thing like, I don't know if you're all familiar with that hotel that they're building in Point Down between Portsea Bay and Park Bay, what they call Grooms Bay, on top of that hill. They're building the hotel there, but what I knew from below there, on top of that rock, if you go below that rock, there's a little bay below that rock, stand 30 feet in from the mouth of the rock, go right in below the rock. You can go inside there and relax. But you don't go there when the sea is rough because it's going to jam you inside there. So that even create a hollow with that thing they put in on top there. And a couple of years' time, I show that will break down. And then some of the things, site visit is very important. I am someone that kayak right around Grenada on my own, scoping all the bays, checking all sceneries and things. But I didn't do it in one day. I do it over like a 3 years period, and I did it in 16 days, right? So I know seen a lot of things about the coast. So people should come together, and when they're ready to do something, have some good consultation and things. Look, the Molineux project there with that slippage, one of the serious things they don't understand. That hill is shelling, but right below there is where you call the sculpture park. It also have a whole hollow there, and because of the sand, that is telling you that the sea is sucking below. So one of the things I see should build there, I talked to someone and said they should pile there. They tell me to pile it, but when I said pile, I should tell them you should build like a jetty there from the first corner from by Mount Morris onto the other deep corner. So you're piling it and you're flying the road from one corner to the next. So when you have these big pile holding up like that road, that fly, there's going to be concrete slab. So if the hills is sliding or whatever, all the filth will just pass through the pillars of the piles and go its way. So you understand that there wouldn't be any pressure on that thing. But once you go back trying to put a road there, it's going to be a serious thing. But we have to have proper engineering thing. And some people, when I tell them it could be done, they tell me no, that is problems and things. But I know I work with 10 construction company in and out of Grenada. 2 big barges coming in right inside there with all the piles and the sub and the 2 big crane, and they're piling that thing and they're flying that road for you. You just have to get the right people and the money. Thank you.
Thank you, Caller. Thank you for your contribution this morning. Caller did say a lot.
Very
he seemed to be a bit knowledgeable about pertaining to what he speak about also. He seemed to be very knowledgeable.
I think he has similar ideas to what I was going to recommend for the area just as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So
Great.
I mean he's on the ball, which is really good.
All right. We drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we discuss some more. Stay with us here, folks. It's To The Point for today, Monday, the 12th of June. We're coming right back. Stay with us.
We say, yeah, GBN we say, arts and culture living, yeah. Rock the box we say, I'm telling you, rock the box, rock the box, rock the box we say, I'm telling you, rock the box, rock the box, rock the box we say, we'll be jamming here on a Thursday.
Mention the wing high, then you have things like man, you must come back, you know. We have the low folder.
It is kind of like the same man, and it's just different name for the same kind of thing.
And last but not least, I just want to say to all the men who saw me, call me, and ask for a piece of cake, I'm baking this weekend.
Join us Fridays at 8 on GBN Television, K105 FM, GBN's Facebook page, and YouTube channel for We Culture.
Welcome back to our listeners and viewers to the point for today, the 12th day of June. And as usual, every Monday we talk about, risk awareness, risk management, and so forth here on the program. Myself and Mr. Sylvan McIntyre. So, McIntyre, we do have a caller. Let's entertain this caller before
absolutely.
we continue our conversation. I guess we lost that caller there, 435-2041. I guess we could continue until, of course, we do get a caller coming back. But we do have some other videos that we would like Master Control to put up so that we could have a bit of a discussion.
The caller as he comes in?
Let's take this caller then.
Yes.
Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Yes, good morning. I'm a resident in Marianne, and my concern is the garage that's been conducted there. It's been over a year, and I am just tired of being told by the drivers when I have to pull over, even if it is my right. I'm being told how my mother make me, how my father make me. It's just ridiculous. It's disgusting. Please, Mr. McIntyre, we need some help. Thank you.
All right. I'm not sure what you could do about that.
I have a good idea as to what she's speaking about in terms of roadside garages. To be honest, it's really a menace. And it is not just but it is also infuriating people to the point where it generates road rage. The aspect of roadside garages and the attitude of the people who are occupying our road space, it has to be something to be dealt with. It is one of the things that we want to advocate strongly for. It's one of the discussions we will be having with the Transportation Board so that they would get to the point. Our last discussion on the issue was that the mechanism, that was a couple of years ago actually, for enforcing the law where it relates to roadside garages, the mechanism was not, they realized that there were some limitations to the legislation. Okay. But my concern would be for law enforcement to move in on the aspect of restriction and obstruction to free flow of traffic.
Yes.
There's a lot more that should be done.
And then the other legislation could always be implemented to deal with that.
So I really empathize with the caller, and it is really something that we would want to follow through on.
All right, let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Good morning. How you doing, bro?
Not bad. Go right ahead with your contribution, please.
Sylvan, I don't know when last you've been to Batway, or, in that area over there. After you turn from that nice corner, going down to Batway, before you the first out, that road, that particular part of that road, I think the sea undermined that road totally. And even the part after the house, there's a little pasture there. I remember when I used to go there and fish, I used to jump down behind the rock and fish. Literally jump down on the sand. Now the sea has taken so much land that you can't even jump there, you must climb down. So, but that road is totally gone. So I think the government should be looking at areas now where they can literally move that road to. Because any heavy rain that come right now. Because right on that road, there's a small bridge. And the small bridge carries the water from one side to the next. And then that water will go down over to the seas. So the water will help to erode the soil also. So I think that road is gone. So it's a hazard. I think it's a danger. I think the Ministry of Work should come and look at that road and see what's really going on under there. Because I think precaution is the way to go on that road. Have a nice day, brother.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so
caller.
much.
That's very useful, very useful, and it's one of the things we really appreciate. The calls are coming in. People are raising the concern. We hope that there will be immediate follow through on them because we need to be more proactive.
All right. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Telesford. Greetings, and Mr. McIntyre similarly.
Morning.
Doggone. Can you hear?
Yes, we are hearing you. Go right ahead, please. We're hearing you loud and clear.
Yes, greetings. Mr. McIntyre, I feel good to hear you make these observations today. Today, that you're not within the ranks of the Royal Grenada Police Force. The observations that you and your committee and so on, recently formed, are making the behavior of our people towards the laws of the country. Rather interesting. Begs questions. But the only question I would like to find out from you today, whereas you know more in the Royal Grenada Police Force, is what do you think is the reason why the laws of the country are blatantly violated by even senior government officials and nothing is being done about it? In other words, do you think our country is governed by the rule of the law or laws? Or do you think that our country is ruled by the whims and fancies of quote-unquote politicians stroke demagogues? Trust that you understand my question and that you respond accordingly. Thank you very much and have a nice day, will you?
Thank you, sir. Have a good day yourself. Anything you want to respond to the caller?
Thank you, Citizen Roller. I do really understand your question, and there would not be a straight answer to the question in terms of the reason why people apparently seems to be blatant violators of the law, and it is seemingly not enforced. My response to that would be, there seems to be disregard for law and order, but Grenada, by extent, I would not say that lawless state. I can say that there's a lot left to be desired in terms of more enforcement and the respect for law and order. It is not an understatement, and it's definitely something needs to be done about in terms of how people respect the law and how the law in itself is being enforced. I know that the RGPF has a lot of limitations, but every citizen should be a law-abiding citizen, and every citizen should be an enforcer of the principles and laws that are established.
All right. Let's entertain another caller before, because we do have some more videos that we have to look at. Let's take another caller. We lost that caller. So in the meantime, I hope Master Control could get some of the videos back up so that we could actually, and that's one of the videos, again, Mr. McIntyre, that, you know, you've been making reference to. What's happening there?
What this shows, again, that's a beautiful coastline. That's the Whitegate, Palmis area on the west coast. Beautiful, lovely. But it produces some levels of threat and hazards to persons, motorists, pedestrians, etc., and even visitors. What happened there is that the area there is very unstable. It's an area that is identified as a rock fall area. What is left and is desired is the notice that it is a vulnerable area. And that is happening in many areas around our island where there are vulnerable areas. There are places where people are exposed to particular hazards and there are no signage.
Okay.
So I think we need to do more in terms of establishing signs. That
so you think for that particular area, we need some signs being put up?
We need signs there and other places saying rock falls, be careful, drive carefully, do not linger, do not idle, do not lime locally in those areas, so that people would understand that it produces some level of risk. Visitors may move along this area and not really fully understand that there is a risk factor involved. And that not just there, but there are many other places on the island where that should be done.
All right, let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Yeah, good morning, GT, and good morning, Mr. McIntyre. Mr. McIntyre made a statement earlier on about the need for information. I think he was talking more about information, intelligence gathering. I hope we're not going back to the stage of surveillance that happened after the invasion. Anyway, but I think he's right. The authorities, and I think also GBN have a responsibility to the community when points are raised and show or to follow it up. I was in Dominica for some time in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I remember participating on DBS radio. Can't remember the name of but a similar program like this one. And what they did is that they gather up information that people raised, or they took concern and went to the various authorities or entities. And every Friday, they came back and report to the people as to what was the response of the various people in authority. And I think we could do something like that. Because, too many good ideas go floating. I remember even when Mr. McIntyre was in Nero, I think he was in, when I raised the issue on this radio station and our approach to the whole thing of disaster preparedness and things wasn't quite correct, because we were telling somebody prepare for the hurricane coming, and if somebody were living on a bank on the edge of a precipice in Maran, how could they prepare? They have to move. So I'm saying that some of these things, and I've been echoing a call for a community development approach. A lot of the issues that we need to solve, whether it's law and order, whether it's respect for one another, and what it needs a community approach. We cannot do it in isolation with the silos and ministry saying this and another agency doing that and the police. It has to be a community development approach where all the people and all the sectors are engaged, including the church in this case. We need to really transform, and I agree with him. The government must be commended for the effort they have made. But bearing in mind, as Dr. Justine Pierre said on another program, we are an MP country. And that means a lot. The Wizard spoke about that in his song. And this is not just about the party, but a mentality. Unless we change the mentality, we wouldn't go anywhere. We have to see country even before ourselves. Of course, we have to take care of ourselves. But we have to see the welfare of one another as important. And not those, we want to see fancy thing, never see, come see. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution this morning. Thank you so much.
So, again, those are some very useful comments from the callers, and we're getting mainly the positives, which is really good. And people are agreeing with the issues. It is also showing that they are there. And when they are raised, the mechanism for addressing them, we believe that it needs to be established. Yes. I think that is coming out to a large.
I would believe so too. Actually, it's actually saying that there are individuals out there who are seen and who have lots of concerns. And it's just a matter of those in authority getting those things taken care of.
And I really like the callers angle. I think that's what we were trying to say as well. It adds some level of greater credibility to an administration when they are able to follow through on the issues, especially from the grassroots people. Yes. Because the grassroots people are the ones that generate a lot of the ideas, not the technocrats and the people who sometimes move around with the jacket and ties, etc. The people who know the communities, who know the issues. Very often they do not have an avenue to vent it. They do not have a place where their voices will be heard. And this is one of the things that we are hoping to be. The voice of the people, the voice of the community where disaster risk is concerned.
Because sometimes there are people in communities who are seeing these risks and these disasters that could happen in time to come, but sometimes they don't have the avenue to.
They don't know who to talk to.
Don't know who to speak to.
Who to speak to.
You understand? Who to speak to, and then not until something occurs, then they say, I wanted to talk about that,
Yes.
I wanted to talk about that, but never knew who they can go to or where they can go to. But there are programs like this that can offer the opportunity that you can always call in from time to time when we do accept calls and state those concerns and so forth that individuals in authority can actually hear what we speak of.
So if nothing really more is taken away from this program, we would wish that it is really established that there has to be and there should be a mechanism where people's voices could be heard and actions and follow-up given thereafter. And I think this is a bigger of today that we agree that the efforts must not seem to go in futility. People must understand that there is some place that they can raise an issue. When the accident occurred a couple months ago, the road fatality with my son, etc., and I did say that we want to be an advocate for safety. And I can hear my son saying all the time, I don't want other people to go through what I've been through. So be the voice to prevent such things to happen. And I said, we want to be a representative. We want to be a place where people can speak and say. And I remember there was one young man who came to me and said, I got struck down with a vehicle, a couple months prior. I am on a wheelchair now. and the person who is involved, he's walking around, he's on bail probably, there is nothing coming to me, I'm in pain, I have lost my job, and there is no compensation. Maybe thereafter, the person might be charged, maybe might charged for reckless driving or otherwise. He might be charged a fine, or he might go to prison. The fine goes to the state coffers. He goes to prison.
And what happens to the
what
victim?
happens to the individual, to the victim? So we want to be, that voice. I do have a few attorneys who are with me in the foundation, and we would hope to be able to make that voice and the representation. We know there is the legal aid and counseling thing that would help people who do not have that legal representation. But we would want the foundation to be also that kind of a clearinghouse, where people who have this concern, they've been knocked down, they have injuries, and that we can help, we can source.
When they get that feeling that all is over, there's still some,
there's someone
still
they can
another
talk
avenue
to.
that they could.
Because when that gentleman came to me, he felt, this is somebody who understands my situation, and this is somebody who can help raise my concern, and many others who've been marginalized to an extent, disadvantaged because of an accident that they themselves did not create.
We do have a final caller. Let's take a final caller.
Yes.
Caller, good morning, and you're so welcome.
Hi, good morning. Yes, I listened to the program, but one thing I want to ask you, please, is that when you have people like the police and so on dealing with people with accidents, to get the insurance company involved in it. Because I was in an accident, a bus turned over with me on Lucas Street. And since that time, no police, no insurance, the bus driver, nobody called to see how you're doing. Think about people, I had to go to the doctor many times. Nobody offered a cent to see how I was doing. Nobody called. So I wanted, when you're having people like that, have the insurance company and let us know who we can go to when we were in an accident or are in an accident.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So, GT, this caller has given me an additional idea. It's the same thing we're trying to build. People may not be able to reach a police officer, they may not be able to reach an insurance company, maybe they can't get a lawyer, they don't know it. So if there is a clearinghouse or someplace they can call and give their information, and there could be the follow-up. Maybe we can have counselors, maybe we can have, legal advisors, maybe we can have medical advisors, because I think there are about 3 doctors who are now on our foundation. And so it is building something really nice where I think people can have some sense of resolve. They can have the issues being addressed. And this is why I said, the death of my son, there has to be a reason for Grenada. It has to bring some kind of blessing. And I'm sure it is beginning to feel that people feel there's a sense of the issues can be raised. We are addressing the risk issues for pedestrians and motorists, but for individuals who being disadvantaged, that they too can get some sense of resolve.
Because we hear for these complaints from time to time, and you get the feeling that it's just been left on the wayside.
Left on the wayside.
Yeah, and it just seems, it happened, and that's it. For most people feel that way. Mr. McIntyre, it's about time for us to take a wrap for today. It's a pleasure as always, and we do this again next week.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, folks, listeners, viewers, I want to thank you, those who contributed some way or the other, whether it's by your phone calls, your messages. I want to thank you so much. Have yourself a great day. Join us again for another edition of To The Point. Hopefully tomorrow, when we do have Opposition Tuesdays, join us again. Have a good one, folks. Goodbye.